What's my entry technique? It depends on the trade setup is the honest answer. But what I like to have is, and you'll see it throughout pretty much all my charts, it doesn't matter, like, this is the argument I always have about TA, is that it's not about, like, well, for me, it's not about repeating a simple price action setup that says, if I get a fair value gap at this level, blah blah blah, then I'm doing this. It's about, okay, well, what levels can I draw from the price action that's in front of me? How do I think value is moving up and down? Where can I take a position with an invalidation that's pretty clean? Because as much as it's about, so this here, this morning, you could see LDO was basically massively outperforming the rest of the market. So you can see LDO starting to kind of go off once the Doge news took aside. I didn't want to trend follow this, which is one way of entering. It would have paid off, but I falsely identified that it wasn't going to be a sort of trending coin on the basis that the market generally was pretty weak, and like if you look at all these percentages, it's pretty piss poor, pretty weak day. But then for me it's about, okay, mark some levels. Where do you want to interact? How do you want to trade it? And where would you like to get on board? I mean, obviously I'd like to get on board at like 1 cent, right? But the reality is, consolidation before next leg up is basically my only play here, which is around here. So, we've absolutely blasted through, reclaim this level. So basically, I like liquidation events, so I like, very, very high volume sell-offs, and I like when we start getting a bid, and when we start getting some movement at the bottom, not that it's a bottom obviously, but when you start getting a bid rolling in, I like taking some positions early. But it's not with a full position size typically, because you have a strong sell-off, you have a sort of mean reversion bounce, and then it just legs down again. So for me, it's a very, very high risk play, and I've got to be managing my position in that a lot. Like literally, it's quite intense when it does happen. And sometimes it works really, really well, and you catch wonderful bounces, and sometimes it works absolutely horrifically, and you end up just panic selling sort of down here. So yeah, I've got a couple of different entry criteria. I like slower moves as well. So if you get, a reasonable sell-off and you get some nice RSI divs or AO divs that give you a very, very clean signal at a level on an alt that you're looking to bid, then that's always nice as well. So I kind of have a tiered set and tiered approach where I'm allowed to size heavy on some setups and not as heavy on others. So for example, I'll talk you through a losing trade because it's probably the first time you'll hear that from a streamer. So I top long DETH, and I'm proud of it. The question I always ask myself is kind of, would I take the trade again? And the answer is yes. It's not my highest conviction sort of setup because 1, it's not particularly high beta. 2, like, there's no necessary narrative around it and all that kind of wonderful stuff, and I prefer playing the in-play coins with size. The last time I said ETH-BTC looked like fucking hot garbage was down here, and all I could think was, it's support until it isn't. And we also had, at the time, we were having reasonable rotations, we were continually pressing up against this level, and from a 4-hour perspective, we just had this candle here, which was, let's just jump into it. I'm not a candle trader per se, but the speed at which that was sort of bought up was, let's hit this one here, wasn't it? The speed at which that was bought up was very good, very reassuring in terms of like the strong reaction here, strong reaction here, strong reaction again, strong demand just consistently. So those things all combined, I thought, right, I'll take this trade. We're going to 2k ETH, boys. It's over for the Bears, and yeah, got absolutely cucked on it. Actually tried to like micromanage it a little bit down here, and ended up saving myself a tiny bit of it. I think I got out around here because there was actually a 15-minute divergence down here, It's very, very janky, but in hindsight, I don't think it was a great way to play it. I got lucky that it actually did play out. But I was looking at it and I was like, I was basically, I did the naughty thing of like pulling all my stops down to like here, because I went back and questioned why the fuck's my stop here and not under this level. Why is it minimum not under there, and even better somewhere under here? But obviously I'd have got stopped, but I'd have managed my position size a little bit more effectively.